You all had a great day today. Thank you all for joining me. Um, this is the second of our live streams, and it's on all platforms pretty much. So, I want to start off with, for those who may not know me or people who are just tuning in, a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in White Plains. When I was born, my family lived in Fisher Hill section of White Plains. And then at the age of 2, we moved to the Highlands, and that's where I grew up. My dad had a business on East Post Road that was John's Texaco. It was across from, if those who remember, the fore and aft. There was actually one, two, three, four gas stations there. It was his. It was the Mobile. It was a Sunoco, which he actually had that for a period of time as well. And also there was an Esso at the time, which became Exxon. Across the street, there was some great stores. The neighborhood had the Cleaners, New Way Cleaners. There was a Gardella's produce market. There was Logue's Deli. There was Collins Stationery. There was DePaulo's Dugout. And then little after, Sal's Barbershop opened up over there. It was actually a great neighborhood. Grew up very much so at the gas station. My dad worked, 15 hours a day, literally. And I would go down there to see him. So I learned how to work on cars at a young age. My brother and I did a ton of work at the gas station. I was doing brakes at a very young age, tuning up, tire changes, everything. And my sisters even pumped gas there. It was absolutely a great experience. I got to meet everybody from the neighborhood. I learned about White Plains at that gas station. It was such a diverse community. While we didn't care about party, back then everybody was friends. We all took care of our neighbors. My dad had a lot of friends that would come by the gas station. There was homeless that frequented the gas station as well. My dad would try to take care of them. It was not uncommon on a Thanksgiving. I'd go down to the gas station with my dad on Thanksgiving. He always opened up. He said people needed gas or they might need an emergency repair to travel. So I would go down to the gas station with him, and he'd ask one of the guys who would be wandering around, and he'd say, "Hey, Jim, where are you going to Thanksgiving?" And they'd say, "I'm going over my daughter's house." Now, we knew that wasn't true. He was homeless. So my dad would say, "Yes, but we really want you to spend Thanksgiving with us." He'd say, "There's stuff in the bathroom. Go clean yourself up." He said, "You're coming over our house for Thanksgiving." And that was not uncommon. That's how I grew up. For love and care for the people in the community. And we were a community. Everybody helped everybody back then. I can tell you many, many stories about that. My mom was an immigrant from Monteleone de Puglia, Italy, and she came to this country and ended up building a career for herself as a chief accountant at New York Hospital on Bloomingdale Road. Um, no complaints. Had a great childhood. We didn't have a lot of money, that's for sure, but I had great parents and great siblings. Um, Many of the people around White Plains know my siblings. Um, it was just fantastic childhood. Um, Moving on, I ended up working at the city of White Plains. So I started with the city. I was hired by then Commissioner Philip Amiconi, and I started in the building department. I started as a housing code enforcement officer at the time. And when I started there, I had already had deep roots in computers. So I looked around the department, saw everything being done manually, and decided this wasn't going to work. I ended up, they had a typewriter budget. They were replacing typewriters. I ended up somehow working it out where I was able to get computers that I ended up having to put together myself. I had to assemble them all myself to get them at a cheap enough price and then network them. This is pre Ethernet, pre everything. I networked the computers, I networked a printer, and I started to write software for the building department. I automated most of their processes at that point, and it gained attention. And then Mayor Del Vecchio came over, saw everything automated, and asked me to evaluate the technology throughout the city. We had an enormous budget at the time for that, but that's because we just had an outside consulting handling everything. That was a company called Pentimation. We had employees at the city that handled the relationship with them, and it was managed under finance. At that point, we saw we had so little throughout the city. It was just managing a select number of systems that we had to have at that point, and it was run on a mainframe. I went in, evaluated everything, convinced them that I could do this without this outside firm. That cost us many millions a year. And we got rid of the firm. I ended up founding the department, did the layout for the department, how we should be, the positions that should be there. I was also asked, because the state didn't have testing for IT personnel at the time. Very few municipalities, I'm guessing around the nation, had IT departments. So I went up to New York State, met with them. I actually wrote the questions for the IT tests that the state ended up passing out throughout the state for various positions in IT. At that point, I was looking at everything in the city. Actually, started a little bit before then. I saw that we were paying a lot of money for communications. I began to talk with an individual in the Department of Public Works, Gerald Lapalato, and started to look at what we could do in the city. I was very much into networking. I was a pioneer in that field. I could go back since its inception. Like I said, it was pre-Ethernet days. And at that point, I said we could do this over fiber optic cable. We did some test connections. We ended up putting in fiber optic to monitor the intersections where 287 comes to Bloomingdale Road and Westchester Avenue, that whole vicinity, because we had to monitor that. There was a need to monitor everything there, since we were looking at building the Westchester Mall at that point. And we needed that information on traffic flows. So I worked with the traffic department. I think it was Ted Gammon at the time, worked with him, and we solved his problems, while I was also able to extend the fiber optic to our purchasing department, which was then where Stop and Shop is now. And we networked them. At that point, that gained a lot of attention and ended up putting in a fiber optic network, working hand in hand with Gerald Lapalato. We ended up doing, I think it is now at 36 nodes when we were completed, and roughly 36 miles of fiber optic cable. We connected every city-owned building and all the schools. So we supplied the school district with connectivity free of charge. I was then at that point, when everything was completed, Mayor Schulman had taken over, and I was put on loan to the school district to review the technology that they were going to put in, the purchasing that they were going to make, because it was a lot of money that they were going to spend. So I did that and worked hand in hand with the Board of Ed, BOCES, and the White Plains School District as the primary consultant for that. At that point, it was time to actually make it official that we were forming the IT department. I had already been integrally involved in putting in systems in just about every department in the city, or migrating everything off of the mainframe. At that point, when we were going to form a department, I had to sit down with then Mayor Schulman, and we worked out the construct for that. We got it approved, and I was appointed the first leader. One of the one of my requirements to do that, and I had said this early on to Mayor Del Vecchio, Mayor Schulman, and then Mayor Delfino. I think the vote actually happened under Mayor Delfino, is that as I move forward with this, that I have to be placed in each department as as I found the time to do so, and work hand in hand in the department so I knew how every department worked. There's no way to automate them to make them efficient without actually understanding the departments. So I'm in a unique position where I know most of the departments within the city. So that's my background. Today, I'd like to bring up a couple of topics that people may want to send in questions about. The first one I'd like to bring up is the Con Ed two-tiered pricing system. Right now, I don't know if everybody's aware of this. There's two tiers of pricing. The normal tier, and then the White Plains residents under Mayor Roach, our common council, including Justin Brash, have placed all our residents in the higher price tier. If they didn't want it, they had to opt out. They were automatically opted in. I always had a severe issue with that people shouldn't have to opt out of something. So many people may be paying a lot more for their electric bill. So if anybody wants to comment on that, please do. I will tell you, we're putting something on our website. We're working on it now to make it easier for people to opt out. We're going to have a button there and whatever we can. So if some people click on it, it'll take them right to the site, fill out a form, opt out, and then they can save money on their electric bill because prices are going up. If you've seen what's been going on with Con Ed, they've asked for a rate hike. And I spoke at the Public Service Commission meeting many months ago to discuss how unfair this is. And so anything we can do to try to make that better, we will. And the first thing I want to do is try to reduce your electric bills by making it easier for you to opt out. Okay. So I think we're ready for some questions. Let me see what's coming up. I got one from Lisa. Lenny, it appears that, okay, here we go. Thank you for the opportunity to ask questions. How do you feel AI will affect our city, and are we prepared for it? So, AI has been around for many years. It's just the buzzword of the day. I mean, we did different systems in the past that had AI features. But with the power we have today, with the processing power, it is extremely powerful. And AI is a great tool, but boy, can it have some, it can put us at risk as well. So to give you an example, AI can allow people to be so much more efficient at their jobs. You cannot rely on it 100%. It's not always accurate, but you can go in and have it do tons of mundane tasks that with employee review, it can have them be much, much more efficient. Anybody who's used it can see that, but you can't let it run amok. The issue with AI combined with, like right now, we're also entering the world of quantum computing. That combined with AI it can get really, really serious. Let me even back up. I think many people have seen it with AI right now, that if you were to watch any reels, you don't even know if they're true anymore. That's pretty serious. So keep that in mind. Now you combine that with quantum computing, and they're even talking about with quantum computing that encryption is not going to work because a quantum computer will be able to crack it almost instantly. So it is pretty serious. Also, our children have to be taught that AI is a tool. It shouldn't replace the knowledge that they have. They can't use that instead of studying learning the material. That's critical. So I have that problem with it as well. And we have to watch this very carefully. But for the city to use it as a tool to be more efficient, to it could be used for anything, monitor our water, monitor traffic flows to make things better. We can certainly take a look at that. And that stuff's here today. That's pretty easy to implement, even with our existing systems that we have in place. Thank you for that question. And this is from Vince. I know our police force is much smaller than it was many years ago. Would you want to increase the police force size? And we have issue in our city parks with drug use, drinking, dogs, and dangerous individuals. Would you be open to have police presence in some of our city parks like Turner Park? Oh, absolutely. I don't like the fact that we reduced our police presence. And that goes the same for the fire as well. It's not only police and fire. If you look around the departments, we have reduced staff. So it's affecting every department. We did not reduce staff, I don't believe, at anywhere at the top. We have more consultants in our administration. We have, we'll have a consultant and a commissioner doing the same job. And we're creating new jobs, like we have a legislative aide that my opponent says he's very proud to have forced the administration to put into place. And the legislative aide is there to review emails if they, as he said, if they have legislation that they're passing. But we already have a law department. We already have a city clerk's office. We've never needed this before. They have a part-time job and they have to answer emails for the salary they get. That is not too much to ask. And we never needed it before. So I don't understand what the need is now. It's not like our city's number of residents have doubled or anything of that nature. We've had building construction before. That all goes through the mayor's office and through the departments that we have in place. Those department heads are to advise not only the mayor and the council. So we are wasting a lot of money on people at the top. He also had said he wants to have a communications officer and a sustainability position as well. So we're going to have high priced positions and we got to figure out how to pay for it. Instead of having multiple people in administration, we need more police. We need more fire. We need more people in our DPW department. Also, even in our building department is lacking. So we definitely need to review our personnel, the hierarchy of our personnel within the city. That is a problem right now. Once we do that, and actually it could be done parallel, we should be having more community policing. So I've mentioned along the campaign trail, we need foot patrols. We need, I would like the bicycles back. I understand they're back, but I haven't seen them. Somebody had told me they saw one day, but I haven't seen them. We should have the bicycles back like we had when I worked here. We had the motorcycle police around all the time. I don't know what they do now. I know they are used for ceremonies, but I'd like to see them around as well. We have the cruisers. I would also like to see the mounted police. That was great community policing. It'd actually, think about it, going through the parks, if you had mounted police going through there, I mean, I could actually, imagine how that would look in conjunction with foot patrols. It makes it a better appearance. Plus, we are watching our parks. We are engaged in our community. I think that's very, very important. So I do want that right away. I do want our police structure to be different. Thank you. Patty, love your passion and your history of White Plains. Thank you very much, Patty. Thank you. So, do you plan on enforcing the law about loud exhaust on vehicles speeding around White Plains, especially at night time on South Broadway? Yes, all our laws should be enforced. If we go through the process of passing a law, we should enforce it. I've heard this around the city. It's similar to like the leaf blower ban, right? That should have been a balanced approach. But when you do something like that, and then you see some people it's enforced against and others it's not, that's very bad. Selective enforcement is terrible. And I've actually seen that on these, even with cars being stopped. If we have a law, we have to enforce it. If the law is bad, we have to change it. We don't want a situation where it can be enforced when a person feels, this time it's good. That leads to corruption down the line. And I never want to see that in White Plains. Thank you. Okay, from Patty. I have asked other current common council members when they were running last. Unfortunately, they had no idea what that used to be. Can you tell folks how effective for safety and transparent information to assist residents? Would you bring back this safe housing task force? So yeah, the safe housing task force was good. We actually did it when I started with the city, we actually did that, or I head up a group of people and we went out, and I could tell you various areas of the city that were in very bad shape. I mean, I was very, very proud of the job I did. I could tell you I went through one area that was very troubled. There was rooming houses, legal, but they hadn't, been kept up to date. And I remember making inspections and really detailed inspections, finding out the fire alarms didn't work, which was mandatory. They had problems with fire separation. I can go on and on. I think it was a 3-page violation letter. And after we corrected it, it just so happens a fire started in that rooming house and the place burned down. If I had not mandated that, I know that people wouldn't have gotten out of there. There would have been some people that wouldn't have gotten out. So I just felt it was only through the grace of God. I happened to be out there prior. And we ended up going through all those residents at the time and making sure people were safe. One I mentioned last night was even with the inspections like the Coachman Hotel, I did an inspection there and found out that was very unsafe. And that's how they ended up getting another stairwell put on the back. And I can point to many, many cases. And that grew in to that safe housing task force. And I believe, if I'm not correct, maybe Patty, you would know that Tony Magnotta was heading that up after I left the building department. And unfortunately, very, very sad, we lost Tony recently. He was a friend of mine. And when he came on the job, I remember going out training him. But that was, I think he had that up. I'd like to know that if you could refresh my memory. So Tom has asked, what will I do about the Galleria? So the Galleria it's very interesting because a lot's happening right now with it. So the Common Council accepted the final environmental impact statement, and they're trying to move on the zoning changes at the very next meeting, which will be November 3rd. So they might vote on it then, and I guess they will. I have a problem with that because they combined the zoning for the city-owned property, the parking lot, that's city-owned, with the retail space of the Galleria to change both of them at the same time and make it one zoning district. The issue I have on that is I believe that should be 2 separate applications so the people of White Plains could decide if they want property that was taken by eminent domain to be a public parking garage and now have it turned over to a developer. So they are moving very quickly. Right now, what I heard is they want it to be 7 high-rise towers. They increased the height to 450 feet in one spot, I think another spot to 420 feet. It just seems very extreme right now, and that we need all these very high-priced luxury rentals downtown White Plains. I'm not thrilled with that project right now. I know that we could make that a much better site, but I also know that the property does belong to a private developer. So some say we have no control. It is private, but that's not true because we modify the zoning to allow them to build what they want. Right now, it's retail. So if they want to build, they don't need any zoning changes. If they want to build another mall or a retail, use that for retail space. And I'm not suggesting that's all they should do. And I'm not against development. But I believe most people in the city, including myself, feel that just this happened very quickly. The city's saying it didn't, that they've been working on this for 2 years. We didn't hear much about it. There should have been much more transparency about the whole process and what this city is going to look like when this is done. So I can't guarantee what I can do because they may have already done most of what they wanted to get accomplished before I would take office. But that doesn't mean that I'll have no control. And I can guarantee you everything that is done from here forward will be transparent and the public will be able to talk to me. I will be accessible and we will make sure everybody knows what's going on. And we want input because I don't claim to have the greatest ideas about everything. At no time have I ever claimed that. And I've been gathering input from residents as I walk around. So, but thank you for that question. So someone wrote, opting out of ESCO is so difficult. They might be cheaper at first, but they eventually become more expensive. Such a scam. That is true. And that's why I have such a problem with it. So people were put in this to make it look like it was going to be cheaper electric bills, and then all of a sudden it ends up more expensive. And that's why it should be everybody's choice to opt into something, and they shouldn't have to opt out. So we are trying to put something on our website to make it easier to opt out. So I don't mean the city's website. I mean my campaign website. Anything I can do to help, I will try to do. So thank you for that. And Patty said, thank you for updating us on our Con Ed bill. And also mentioned that AI is serious. Yes, it is serious. You can see that it can be turned into something very, very bad. Like I said, I'm amazed at how many people believe what they see on the internet on some of these crazy things. You can see it with all the animal videos, and you find out they were all AI driven. That's not good. You know, I don't approve of that at all. I think there has to be something, I don't know what yet, on how we can make sure what we see is true. Truth is very important. So Asia writes, but they currently have 2 deputy commissioner of parking positions posted on personnel. Well, this is exactly going back to what I'm saying. We do have multiple deputies in departments. We have multiple, if you take the consultants into account, we have multiple commissioners. We don't need this. We're becoming a very top-heavy city as we eliminate people from the normal working people, the people who actually get the job done. We have sanitation workers, we have DPW, we have, including the highway workers, we have You can go into each department, building officials, police, fire, our parking officials. Why do we need so many people at the top? We never had this before. So I agree. So Patty writes, didn't Justin Brash want to hire another aide? And that's right. Mayor Roach was the first to hire a community contact. Well, that's what I mean. I sat during 3 different forums with them that I know they don't want me to call them debates, even though we did debate. Um, and each time he mentioned about hiring more people, either for the mayor's office or council. I don't think we need that. I really don't. We never had it before, and we had very successful mayors. I worked under 3 mayors, Del Vecchio, Schulman, and Delfino, and we never had this. Tom writes, what about the Uber Eats people on the bikes? They are very dangerous, cutting through the streets, going like 15 miles an hour, and they create huge amounts of traffic. And I got to tell you, Tom, they go even a lot faster than 15 miles an hour. I was watching them work on their bikes and tricking them out and everything up in one of the garages. These people, the other day, I was walking down the sidewalk and one whipped up on the sidewalk. You're not allowed to ride your bicycle on a sidewalk or a scooter or a skateboard. They always stop that, but all of a sudden we're allowing this. They have to be registered. They have to just be just like a motorized vehicle. Just because they have an electric motor doesn't make them immune. Otherwise, that would mean Teslas don't have to be registered. That's ridiculous. So I don't understand how they ever allowed it. It should never have gotten to this place. So we definitely have to look at this right away. And, I would immediately have the law department look into this in conjunction with public safety. Gloria writes, I pray that you win. White Plains needs you. Good luck. Thank you so much, Gloria. I appreciate that. So Vince writes, how do you feel about red light cameras? I've been told that they really don't help with safety. It's more about a cash grab. Do you intend to keep them or get rid of them? I want to know a lot more about them, Vince. So there's things I do not like about them. I want to review the contract because I haven't seen that, and I understand there's an incentive for the vendor to give out these tickets because they get a portion of each one they give out. I'm not saying that for sure, but that's what I was told. So that can create abuses if there is monetary incentive to the vendor to issue more tickets. I've gotten so many complaints about the red light cameras. I want to make sure that they're working. If they don't work, we shouldn't have them. I don't want a complete surveillance state over White Plains, but I also want it safe. So again, everything's about balance. You can say, I don't want to have one accident, and then we just don't go anywhere, So I know I've seen different things around the city that they've spoken about that. I think that's all part of the Vision Safe system. They want to have more of them. I want to see if they really do work. So I can't answer it completely now, but I'll certainly look into it. Absolutely. Okay, JP, what is the plan for restoring White Plains infrastructure? How long might such an endeavor take to get started? That's a big one. If you look at just the library columns alone, they have to be replaced. We know that. And you're going to try to do that with the library open. That's pretty serious. You're talking many millions of dollars. It would have been so much easier to maintain it because once you stop maintaining it, the stuff falls apart. Once the chloride has gotten into the steel, now you have water infiltration, the steel will expand, blow out the concrete, and now you have a problem. And you see that everywhere. You see that in most of our structures. Not all, but most. And with the lack of inspections, it's just terrible. So it's going to need a plan and a priority. because I don't see how we can do this all at once. We're in pretty serious shape with this. And if not addressed, this is going to be so much more serious. And that's why I'm telling everybody we're at an inflection point. And this is why I'm running. I saw all this stuff happening. I saw what was happening in White Plains. And I confess, I thought about, do I just put a sign on my lawn and get out of here with what's happening? But I would not move without putting the effort in to make sure I could try to fix what's going on and make the people know what's going on. So this is going to be a big job. We're going to have to do a big study. And it shouldn't take long. We'll have to do a study. I think after that other collapse, I think they're probably spinning up now because they waited to that point until something happened to say, hey, we should even look at our own, because our own are in bad shape. So I think they're doing some engineering reports now, and we have to look at all of those, prioritize them, see what it shouldn't even be open now. There may be some, and we're going to have to figure out what to do. But I don't claim to have an immediate answer, but it has to be addressed now. I mean, we have no time to wait. Susan writes, happy you mentioned mounted police officers, that she was the daughter of a mounted police officer, and I have seen firsthand the pride, discipline, and positive community engagements this service brought to the community. I think it's an excellent idea. I witnessed it right here. The community loved it. Everybody loved it. So I appreciate that. That's excellent. Patty writes, yes, he was headed the Safe Housing Task Force. Tony would come out on weekends and his inspections in the evening. Thank you, Patty. That does answer the question, because that's what we would do. I remember it was a very tough job. I worked most weekends when I did it. So it was a very tough job. And I know Tony was an excellent inspector. So I appreciate that. I miss him. Dominic, I would like your opinion on the amount of property taxes and school taxes that we currently pay. Well, I always think taxes are high. I think city government should do everything in their power not to waste people's money. It's all too easy to mismanage something when you're in government. I've seen people do it. It's all too easy and say, well, it's not my money. It's all of our money. They know that if they mismanage it, it's not like your own business, which I've managed businesses. If you're in a business and you mismanage it, you're going out of business. But all too often, government officials just figure, hey, if I mismanage it, I can just raise taxes. And that's wrong. So we have to look at everything going on right now in the city, especially with the mismanagement of our garages. I want to find out where all the money went that we normally put in to seal the slabs, to keep the water infiltration down, to maintain these, to do the proper inspections. I have to look into all that, because we definitely have a problem. And we have to look into how to support our local businesses and bring in tax revenue there. That's very important, because I don't think we've been doing a good enough job on that. Vince writes, there is such a lack of real entertainment for families. It's only bars in White Plains. How would you get more entertainment businesses to come to White Plains? I agree. I mean, there was actually a big push for that theater when the city center was built. This came up quite a bit in the past. And, I don't think it's being utilized properly or to its fullest potential. I don't know, like, a lot of people don't want to go into city center. So I can't blame the people there. I mean, there's so many rumors around safety at the city center. Like I told you, I mentioned it last night, I interviewed the security personnel throughout the city center, and they told me horror stories. And when I talk to people around the city, even at Blocktoberfest, One of the biggest thing is we'd like to go to the city center, but we don't go there. People who live at the various apartment buildings, even on Mamaroneck Avenue, like the Mitchell, they said they won't walk over to the city center. Um, so the entertainment that could have been there and have grown really died. So I think once we make White Plains feel family friendly and safe, we can bring more entertainment in here and make it a lot of family friendly entertainment. So I definitely agree with you. What kind of relationship do I want with the school district? This is from Vince also. With all the overdevelopment, I worry about the impact on the school population. So I think what they've done is with all this, there is always a possibility of an impact. However, with the apartments that they're looking to build, they're looking to transplant people from Manhattan. We know that. That's what they're looking to do. And they're hoping to transplant people without children. And that may be the case. But I don't want this to be a bedroom community for Manhattan either. So I'm not sure of the impact yet. I know there's been a bunch of studies on it, but with their plan, there may not be. However, I do want a much greater relationship with the school district. There's things I know about even how they manage their technology in the background that, we did that fiber optic network at no cost to the school district and maintain it at no cost. They'd be spending many millions a year for that kind of communications. They have unlimited bandwidth. It's just limited by the equipment they put on the end of the fiber that they can use. That costs a fortune. That is dark fiber that can be used for so much. And we don't get anything for that. And it's costing the city money. I think we can do a lot more with them. I also think that they should be, with what we do for free, they should be supporting our youth bureau heavily and helping us out anywhere they can. Because we have a great youth bureau under the direction of Frank Williams. And I think that the school district should be doing everything in their power, bending over backwards for the city. And that's not critical of the school district, but I don't know if they appreciate what they have from the city. So Anthony writes, should parking structures in White Plains have inspections publicly posted with safety ratings? I don't see why not. My feeling is we have to be a transparent government if we want to be successful. If you have nothing to hide, post it. So we have to have inspections. So why not let the people know? And we could have a rating system available. I don't know how it would look right away. However, we have a lot of work to do because it's pretty serious right now. Patty writes, is it currently written into our charter that all commissioners reside in White Plains? So there is, I'd have to verify. I know for employees, it's actually written in there that they have to, but then it says the council has the right, and I'm paraphrasing, but I've read the charter in the past, that the council has the right to give exceptions to that. And I believe they gave a broad exception. So I don't know if that includes commissioners as well. And they had to do that. They made White Plains so affordable that they couldn't get any workers to live in White Plains. It's like near impossible. So Patty writes, no safety in helmets or reflectors. And she's referring to the delivery bikes. So, and that I agree. That's why the registration process would make sure they have all those safety things, just like you do with your car. If you had a motorcycle, you'd have to register it. Same with a motorcycle. But for some reason, somebody thought, well, it's not using gas, it's using electric. And that's why I brought up, by that logic, then any of the electric cars out there shouldn't have to be registered. It's ridiculous. It has to be taken care of. Tom writes, what you were saying about the police on bikes would be perfect for the Uber Eats bikers. Well, absolutely. They can help control that and curtail what's going on, especially with the registration process. So I appreciate that. All right. Anthony writes, our sidewalks in Battle Hill are very old and dangerous, crumbling condition. Why doesn't the city care about our residents' safety? That is absolutely true. I mean, you see it all over, but I saw it a lot in Battle Hill. I've walked Battle Hill quite a bit because I always felt that because Battle Hill's on the other side of the train tracks, it's like forgotten. It's one of our most beautiful communities and is very, very historic. And we definitely have to take care of the Battle Hill residents. That always had a special place in my heart, Battle Hill. From when I was a child, and then moving on even to the building department. So we'll take care of that. Absolutely. So Jennifer writes, can you comment on the influx of cannabis dispensary locations in White Plains, New York? It's interesting because that is a big, big topic right now. We have so many, and it just looks like you go up and down Mamaroneck Avenue, and it appears, and I can't say this factually, but I'm looking into it, that we have other shops just selling it also that are not even legal cannabis dispensaries. So we have to crack down on that if that's going on. Also, I don't know why that's obviously government wants it for taxation. You could see that as a big reason, but you can also see that it's a big business and there's money to be made. So it is growing here, but I do not see why we have to be White Plains has to be the center of all cannabis dispensaries. I think initially I heard we were only going to have 4, then 5, and it just keeps growing. At some point, we got to put a stop to that. We can't have a cannabis dispensary every 2 shops. Andrew. Hi, Lenny. If you become mayor, what is the first thing you want to accomplish for the city of White Plains? That is a good one. There is so much. First thing I have to do is review the budget, find out what's going on here, and first thing is I want everything transparent. The public has to know what's going on. Safety is one of my top issues. I'm hearing too much is going on. I'm hearing about crime like the apparent homicide on Post Road the other night, where someone was run over repeatedly, home invasions, sexual assaults, knifings, stabbings, gunshots. I have to jump on that immediately. And the police department needs my support to make sure that we maintain a safe city. That's definitely one of my first, but along with safety is our infrastructure. We can't have a catastrophe like what happened at that other parking garage with a partial floor collapse. We have to make sure that doesn't happen to one of our own, and we have to make sure that building department has got inspections for all the other private garages, and that we are doing all our inspections everywhere. It's not only garages, there's many other things that safety could be involved. So that's going to be the first thing. Anthony writes, do we need a public safety substation in the city center? It may come down to that when I talk to the security personnel there. They're saying that they can't control it and that it's very, very bad. So we're going to have to look into that. I don't know all the legalities of that yet, but that is a good suggestion. And this is why I'm doing this. I want suggestions. And I will continue to do this if elected mayor. I do want to know what's going on, and I want to know suggestions. Thank you. So this is from Ray. Joining this late, but I see mention of the Sustainable Westchester, CCA, ESCO. This is a huge scam. Does not save money. Their rates are always above Con Ed, and I can't believe they are still permitted to run their opt-out scheme after being cited by NYPSC, so the New York State Public Service Commission, when it was found Sustainable Westchester improperly enrolled 1,100 Westchester residents into their program. In order to opt out from the scam, you not only have to respond to their opt-out letter, but you must contact Con Ed to place an ESCO lock on your utility account so they cannot switch you in any way, even if you opted out. And he has comments about seeing the 1,100 improperly enrolled in 2024. And then also a URL link. You can see that online. Also, many elected county officials, such as former New Rochelle Mayor Noam Branson, who resigned to avoid being prosecuted by Westchester DA for ethics violation, who's currently the director of Sustainable Westchester. And White Plains Mayor Tom Roach voted to approve Sustainable Westchester and sit on the board of directors. While in elected office, massively unethical, and it should invalidate all these contracts. Sustainable Westchester is shady, okay, should be investigated. So I always felt that was absolutely terrible. How can you force someone to opt out of something? People live very busy lives. And if I remember, the whole opt-out letter kind of seemed like junk mail. So if you didn't read it because you got this junk mail, then you were opted in. If anything, it should have been absolutely part of your Con Ed bill in bold letters. You are being opted into this. And that shouldn't even be allowed. That's ridiculous also. But they didn't do that. They slipped this in, and then everybody was paying higher rates because people would voluntarily say, yes, I want to pay more in our Con Ed bill. It's a terrible thing. So we're going to work to fix that. That I promise. We're going to try to make it easier for you to opt out as well now. So this is from Wayne. It's been 13 years to the day Hurricane Sandy hit White Plains and Westchester. We have a storm rolling in tonight, heavy rain and winds, which will make properties very messy and dangerous for Halloween and kids. It's a complete joke that White Plains has a gas blower ban in the fall. Gas blowers are strong and get the job done to keep White Plains residents safe. If you become mayor, please use common sense and change this law. And then there's another question from Anthony saying pretty much the same thing. So, and that's where I have a problem with the way the current government is working right now with the mayor and the common council. Everything is reactionary. So people complain, let's jump on this. Let's not really talk to anybody about it. We have our mind made up, and let's just get this done. We'll pass a law. And that's not the way you do business. I may have mentioned this last night, and I apologize if I'm being repetitive, but it's not even solving what they want. Because first of all, I see gas blowers going on certain properties, not on others. This is what I talk about. When you pass a law that you're not going to be able to enforce everywhere, it doesn't make sense. So, and it's not fair. And the gas blowers do a much better job. That is absolutely true. And they have newer 4-cycle units that don't create the emissions and the smelly exhaust that people complain about. And I have seen where they have units that are much quieter. So they didn't think of anything. It's not a performance-based law. They just say gas blowers are bad. Well, what if I could buy a gas blower that sips gas, makes no sound, and is 3 times more powerful and efficient? Why do they just get to say gas blowers are banned? And then we have box trucks driving around with huge generators on them. When they open up that door and start up that generator, it's louder than all the gas leaf blowers. And they're using that generator to charge shells of batteries, which are not environmentally friendly and they don't last long. So I agree this should be reevaluated to see what restrictions could be made so it doesn't disturb the, we don't want to disturb fellow residents. I get that. I live in White Plains as well, but in the fall, we could come up with a schedule that works and we could take care of that. So there's a question from Anthony that we're at large representation working in White Plains. Should there be council districts? I always believe there should. What I really don't like is that very often we have, depending on what council members are elected, since it's at large, that many neighborhoods don't have any representation at all. If we add council districts, we could make sure that every single area of White Plains is represented, so that if you have an issue in your neighborhood, you would call your councilman and you'd see if he's effective. And he would be effective because he knows he wouldn't get reelected. So I do like the idea. So White Plains Hospital keeps expanding. Do they pay property taxes on that property? And if they don't, how do you feel about their continued expansion? Well, I'd have to look into that. That's a very good question. And thank you for that one. I appreciate that very much. Because if we're losing sales tax as they keep expanding, that could be a problem. Because then that means the residents are handling all that burden. So I will definitely look into that. I mean, I like the idea of having a world-class hospital here. I really do. But we have to make sure it doesn't destroy our neighborhoods. We have to make sure we have adequate parking. There's much that should be done, and it should all be done transparently. Thank you. And one from John. What do you think of the green electric garbage truck? Do you think it makes financial sense? Could that money be spent better elsewhere? Oh, absolutely. I think the electric garbage trucks is ridiculous because they have so much better ones coming out in a year or two. So much better. These ones at the city, I believe they already purchased them. So I don't think anybody was queried about that. Should we be doing this? In my mind, they're not sustainable at all. You have a truck driving around that weighs 40% more than the old garbage trucks. That causes damage to the roads. The garbage truck batteries only last 4 hours in the really cold weather. So they have to keep going back out. We have to have almost a power, well, it's a power substation there to charge them. There is many, many issues with them. The lithium ion batteries that these things need are enormous. Now they are built much safer than they were, but God forbid one of those light up. If it lights up, you're not just cordoning off a small area. It's big. You cannot extinguish them. You'll end up having to foam them. The foam is toxic. You'll have to block all the storm sewers to make sure that foam doesn't hit the sound, because that would be a terrible, terrible cleanup. So I'm not in favor of them. There's so many. We're not even looking at the low-hanging fruit. So you have the garage, the highway garage, you have those bay doors open in the wintertime. Well, most of the time. In the wintertime, it's particularly severe. You have them open, and the trucks go in and out periodically. And they're open all the time with the heat blaring in there, the boilers going nonstop. Any private entity, and they do, all of them do, have high-speed roll-up doors at a minuscule fraction of what these electric garbage trucks cost. Now, I know they say they got them on a grant, so they don't care about the money, but we're all paying that. And we're going to pay the maintenance on the, you can go on and what these are going to cost us. And we would save so much more energy and carbon credits with high-speed roll-up doors. But they don't look into that. Buying new windows for our buildings that when you walk past a window, you could feel the air blowing through. So low-hanging fruit we should be attacking first. So Anthony has a suggestion. Why doesn't the city build a parking structure near White Plains Hospital so they can capture the revenue of visitors to maintain our city infrastructure? I love it. Now we have one close by. I know because I've had to use it quite a bit, unfortunately. And, really, I think that's a great idea. We'd have to find the space to do it. And we should look into that. I really like that suggestion. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So that's all the time we have for tonight. I want to do another one tomorrow night, and I want to see how many more people we can get involved in this and get more suggestions. So please spread the word to all your friends. I really, really do appreciate all of you being here. This is what makes our city great, is the people who care. So thank you very much. Have a great evening. Be safe. Again, thank you.